Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Full Court Press. I am your host, Drew Duncan. Do not forget that Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is all at Drew Duncan 83. Additionally, you can find me on YouTube. Simply look for Drew Duncan. And, of course, the Full Court Press is on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. And don't forget, you can listen to us wherever you listen to podcasts. Simply tell your device to play the Full Court Press by Drew Duncan. 32 teams, 32 days in the NFL. The focus right now is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Look, when I try to evaluate a football team from season to season, I think I would look at a team like Jacksonville and say, you know what? I think they can legitimately forget about who they were a season ago. I really do. I think this football team can forget about who they've been over the last couple of years. Look, they are going to have a quarterback in Nick Foles that I think many of us are honestly 50-50 on still. Yes, he helped lead the Philadelphia Eagles to a Super Bowl. He's helped lead them to a playoff a couple of times. But what did he do with the Rams? What has he done anywhere else he's been other than Philly? I don't know what the connection is because he's had different coaches while he was in Philly, but he remained successful while he was there. And last night, the preseason game, look, I know that game between Jacksonville and Miami wasn't exactly pretty, but if you were to ask me, looking at this football game, number one, it's preseason. You're not going to show all of your offense. You're just not going to do it. And number two, to me, in a lot of ways, for both teams, it started out almost how you would a regular season game. You're filling each other out from the beginning. You're kind of seeing what you can and can't do. You're kind of probing the other team's offense or defense, pardon me, and you're seeing what you can and can't get away with. And ultimately, Jacksonville was the team to hit first. And here's the thing about Jacksonville. I thought that they looked pretty good depth-wise at the quarterback position. Minshew looked pretty good. It was a preseason game, but he looked pretty good. And here's the thing. There's not a whole lot of depth in the NFL at quarterback, right? When you look at most football teams and you see who their starter is and you see who their backup is, 7, 8 out of 10 times, you're going to go, you know, this guy would probably not be a starter on most football teams. There are those rare instances where we see it. Brett Favre years ago, right, was a backup for Green Bay. Comes in, leads that comeback. It was against the Bengals, if I remember correctly. Never looked back. It happens from time to time. But it's not an all-the-time thing. There are many people that believe that Mason Rudolph could potentially be a starter in the NFL right now had he had gone to another team other than Pittsburgh. I don't think that we've really seen that come to fruition yet. You look right now with the New York Giants. Impressive outing last night with the New York Giants and their quarterback, Daniel Jones. What do you have, over 300 yards in that football game? So the point is this. While it may look that way, it all comes to fruition later on, right? Landry Jones, pretty good example. Yeah, he's a starter in the XFL, but in the NFL, billed as a guy who was kind of a game manager and turned the football over quite a bit and was never really going to be a starter. Hype on him coming out of the collegiate ranks, a few years in the NFL, and we go, But I like how Jacksonville looked depth-wise. Defensively, I think they're still going to be tough. It's hard to evaluate that, though, when I watch that football game. Again, this is why it's so difficult to evaluate a preseason football game, because even though the Dolphins' offensive line is not billed as being that great coming into this season, I don't think there's ever really been any question about the Jacksonville Jaguars' defense over the last couple of years. Defensive line is pretty good. Defensive back-wise, Jalen Ramsey has been the focal point. He's been kind of hit and miss, to be perfectly honest with you. But I still think that defensively, Jacksonville is going to be a football team that is one to contend with. It's going to be, what are they offensively? Look, Marqis, a lot of people are still saying is a phenomenal wideout in this league. But to be perfectly frank with you, most people are going to say, but he hasn't had a good quarterback. So now does he get an opportunity to really prove himself as a wideout in the NFL under Nick Foles? What about Leonard Fournette? Issues with authority, basically, going back to his days at LSU, right? He was hurt, wasn't supposed to play, grabs the coach and says, I am going to play. Now, is that competitive nature? Is that an attitude problem? Is it something that we've seen follow him a little bit into the NFL? Says he's ready to get back to business, that he's grown up and he's matured, and we all mature at a different level, at a different pace. It happens to all of us. I'm not really necessarily knocking the guy, but it can create an overall issue for the football team when one guy is kind of allowed to be away with coaches and sort of get away with it, and everybody else is just not allowed to, right? It's like, why do you have a favorite son? I think, honestly, I'm still concerned if I'm Jacksonville Jaguars fan about this offense. Nick Foles has the tools. But can he go somewhere else and be respected in the locker room? Can he go somewhere else and have a lot of hype and live up to it? Jalen Ramsey said he was looking forward to Nick Foles being his quarterback this season. They've got some tough games coming up as well, don't they? Outside of their conference, they've got the Chiefs, the Jets, the Saints, the Broncos, the Raiders, the Chargers. Doesn't really look like an easy schedule on paper, does it? I think, though, with Nick Foles and Leonard Fournette, there's an opportunity to open up this offense a little bit and do some things that you haven't really been doing under Blake Bortles. I think you can give Nick Foles a lot more trust than you can a Blake Bortles. This is not going to be an easy road. It's going to be a tightrope to walk, and they're going to play some physically dominating football teams. And offensively, they are going to face a lot of firepower, especially in their opening week with the Kansas City Chiefs. I normally say it takes about 6 weeks to find out who a team is in the NFL. I think we're going to find out week 1 what Jacksonville is made of. Even in a loss to Kansas City, right? As long as they keep that game close and they keep that offense down to low points, I think we can maybe look at them and go, you know what, they may win 10 or 11 games this season. However, a blowout loss, obviously to me that signifies that they'll probably be where they were last year. And in a victory, obviously, that is a huge confidence booster, beating a team that was basically a few plays away from being the AFC champions, right? Especially after a phenomenal fourth quarter, that was a few plays away from being AFC champions and going to a Super Bowl. And you would have defeated the NFL's reigning MVP. I think that would speak a lot, especially if you are able to keep that offense to low points. Because defensively, most of us, I still don't think, even with Tyrann Mathieu and a couple of other pickups, may not be that good. Guys, I am Drew Duncan, host of the Full Court Press. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is all at Drew Duncan83. Additionally, you can find me on YouTube. Simply look for Drew Duncan. And, of course, the Full Court Press is on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as well. And as always, don't you dare touch that dial.